Good day, friends. In this episode, I'm going to speak about the difference of knowing about something as compared to knowing something, so that we may understand the benefits or limitations in the difference of them. Jesus brought this one to my mind this morning, and the example that he gave was the Bible. And when you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you'll see how they're giving their version of interpretation and witnessing and understanding and knowing about Jesus. And the limitation of knowing about something is that it's conceptual. It's the carnal interpretation. But to know it, in order to know it, in order to understand its essence, it must be experiential. You need to experience it. You know your personal experience. You know your personal experience because it is your experience. But you do not know your friend's experience, so the best you could know is know about. You could carnally perceive their experience. If you've got a pet, you could know about your pet, but since you can't have your pet's experience, you can't know what it is to be a dog. In this moment, you can't know what it is to be a bird in this moment. So in the Bible, although we're learning about Christ, we may know about Christ. But can we know Christ? In order to know Christ, we would have to experience Christ. In order to know God, we would have to experience God. To know about God is just a carnal-minded concept. It's a logical interpretation. Don't confuse logic with the deepest understanding. The illogical is the divine. The logical is the carnal mind trying to make sense and compartmentalize things, throw them into categories, label them, so that it has some sort of measuring tool. Spirit is its own measuring tool. So the limitation, and this isn't an anti-Bible episode. I'm not anti-Bible. But I also don't allow preferences and biases to cloud my contemplations and my revelations. An enlightened person can express enlightenment. Jesus could express pure consciousness. But it would be impossible for anybody who isn't experiencing that pure consciousness to interpret his experience accurately. Because it's not their experience. The only way to know Jesus and his experience is to tap into what he tapped into. Pure consciousness. Remember, Christ wasn't his last name, but rather a way to This is carnal. Conceptually define him. To conceptually define pure consciousness. Wow. There's your validation right there. That we're using carnal-minded labels and concepts to try and define what's undefinable. It has value to point you in a direction, but so long if you recognize that it's a limited concept, you can investigate further. But if you think that that's all there is to it, is to know about it, it stunts your desire to seek for a greater depth of understanding regarding it. It stifles your intent to strive for personal experience. Because in the carnal mind's interpretation, it's already done. It knows about it. And that's the best that the carnal mind can do. So in the carnal mind's interpretation, it's done. But in truth, it's a limitation. It's an ignorance. The best that the carnal mind can offer is spiritual ignorance. Wow. Why is it spiritual ignorance? Because it lacks the experience. It stays conceptual. It stays limited. It stays carnal. So if you hadn't heard this yet, strive for experience. Because experience allows you to know. Challenge carnal-minded concepts. Contemplate them further. Don't allow them to suggest that this is all and everything. Don't accept the carnal mind's concepts as all or everything, all and everything. To read a book, the best book in the world, written on your favorite food, is still a concept. What's more valuable to you? To eat and experience your favorite food? Or to read the most profound book on your favorite food? To eat it is to know it, to experience it. To read about it is to know about it. Everything in this life has the substance innate within its experience of it, including God. I'm going to repeat that just for emphasis. The most valuable transformative piece of anything in this world is your experience of it. Not hearing about it and understanding it logically and conceptually, but your experience of it. Notice how everything you strive for that means the most to you, you recognize the experience of it. Experience is the feedback system. It provides discernment. And this is a common obstacle in some religions is that they become so enamored, Spirit put that word in my mouth, they become so enamored with the stories and the concepts that those stories and concepts become the obstacle to deeper understanding experientially because they prioritize the limitations of those stories. They prioritize the concepts of those stories. So they prioritize the carnal mind's interpretation of God rather than prioritizing the divine interpretation of God, which is beyond the carnal, which is spiritual, which is experiential. Would you rather have a book about your favorite car or experience driving your favorite car? Would you rather have the job that you love to experience or have a book on your favorite job? Would you rather eat your favorite food and experience your favorite food or read a book on your favorite food? Where is the transformative substance? With God, it is no different. The value is in the experience. The concepts, until you understand the experience, may help light the way or create a treasure map. But the Bible is not the treasure. Knowing about something is not the treasure. It is not the substance. It may help illuminate the way, but don't be confused to think that it is the be-all, end-all. It's the breadcrumb. Spirit's saying, don't make the Bible a false idol. That's an important one. That's an important one. That's not dismissing the Bible's value. It has value, has immense value. But so does the whole world when you learn to perceive things differently and begin to surrender your investment in the carnal mind's limited interpretation, limited conceptual interpretation. You start to make space for deeper understanding. You make space for grace. You make space for grace by surrendering the ego's interpretation. When you accept the ego's interpretation, in that moment, you're closing the door to that seeking element. You're saying, done, finished, understanding complete. When in truth it's understanding incomplete. All right, so we'll say that's sufficient for this episode. If you're interested in guidance, my email, contact information's in the description. If you're interested in joining our social community or our social media communities, the links are also in the description. Have a blessed day, my friend. Talk soon.